Hey guys, I have added a new piece to our Java web application, and this new piece is a Java server page, and this is it right here. It's called members.jsp, and the point of this particular file is to have an alternative way to show a web page, but also be able to have some dynamic Java code running with it. If you remember earlier, we created a servlet. Let's see if I can find that for you. Here it is. This is our match servlet. And the way we created this guy was so that it would just generate a web page that would send back 3 rows in a table. And if you remember, it was a real tedious pain to type in the HTML. Well, Java server pages behaves very similarly, except it's a lot easier to lay out your page formats. You basically create a JSP as if it were a web page, and then you can also embed Java code directly within your JSP page. So as you can see here, this is my JSP page, and as you can see here at the top, I called it members.jsp, and you can also see the same name here in my folder. So in this file, it kind of looks like a regular web page. It has, the HTML tags, the head, the body. I'll come back to this, but this is just a little bit of Java code. Here we have a div, an HTML div, and again, this just builds the links to our other pages. As you can see, this is a link back to our home page, another link back to our About Us page, and this is a link to the servlet that we created earlier. Now, if we come down here a little bit, we can see we have a heading that just says it's dating website members. So the general idea of this page is that it will just show you a list of everybody who has ever signed up for this website. That's why we call it members instead of matches, because this is just going to give us a big long list of all the website members. And we're going to display this data again in an HTML table. And this time you can see it's a lot simpler. We have a heading row that's going to show what kind of data is in our table. We're going to again just list the name, the gender, and the age. And this time we're going to do a loop using Java code. If you take this syntax here, you can embed Java statements directly within your HTML if you surround them with the less than percent sign and finish it off with a percent sign greater than. If you notice here, this is the ending semicolon for this for loop. So we're just going to loop around as many times as we have names in our name array. And I'll scroll back up and you can see where we created our name array here. We just added, I think it's about six or seven people. Let me just expand this out a little so you can see. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people, and we have another simple array, just another string array to hold their genders. So these are the genders for the 6 people. And then finally, we have a third array that contains the ages for all these people. So if we scroll back down, we just do a loop here, and we base this loop on the elements in the names array. So we just loop through this loop as many times as we have names. And for each time we find a name, we create a table row and we put in the value in that particular occurrence of the array. So this will loop through, and we'll start with a 0, and then it'll increment this I variable up to 1, and then a 2, and then a 3. So every time we come through this loop, this I value is going to be one value greater. So it'll start out with a 0, and then a 1, then a 2. So basically, we're going to get a table that's going to list all 6 of these people along with their genders and their ages. So let me go ahead and give you a small demonstration of how this looks when we run it. Here is our server page. Let's go to match 2, and we put a new link into the index page. And if we click on this, this is our view members JSP. And as you can see here, that Java code loops through and it prints out a table row for every person in the array. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people. So JSPs make it much more easier to have use Java code to have more functionality in your web pages, but it makes it easier to format your pages as well. You don't have to embed all of your HTML code into strings and be very careful doing that, because you just basically create your page as if it were a regular HTML page, And then wherever you need it, you can sprinkle in Java code to do dynamic processing for you. And another interesting thing about JSP pages is they are very similar to servlets. And the reason I say that is because once you create a JSP and you add it to your website, let me just show you where we did that. Now back here again, this is our Tomcat server installation folder, and we have our match to application. If I drill down into here, you're going to see these are the two static web pages that we've had all along, and this is our new JSP page. Now, if you remember earlier, we created a servlet and we had to actually compile the servlet before we moved it up to the server. But with a JSP file, even though it does have some Java code in there, you don't have to worry about compiling it. You can just create it and move it directly into your web application, because the first time Tomcat tries to access and run this JSP file, it will take it and it will actually compile it for you. You don't have to do it manually. And something else that's interesting about JSP pages is once they're uploaded to the server and you run them, they are actually converted into servlets. So at the end of the day, these are servlets under the cover, and I can show you here. Let me go up to our Tomcat server. We come in here to this work folder, drill down to Catalina, localhost, and if you see here, this is our match to application. Keep drilling down. You can see here that our JSP page was actually converted to a Java class. And after it got converted to a Java class, it was also then compiled automatically for us. So if we open up this Java class just to see what this guy looks like, we can open it up with Notepad. And if you notice here, this was generated for us. It tells you right here in this top comment that this file was generated by a Jasper component of Apache Tomcat. And so if we start scrolling down, you'll notice that it added all this code for you. And if we keep scrolling, we're going to start seeing some familiar items down here. Here we go. If you notice, this is similar to the servlet that we created. And if you see, you can see here that this servlet that was created for us, it does what we did manually. It starts spitting out these pieces of HTML as strings, and it'll spit them all out, and then here it will generate these Java arrays and put these values into it, and then it'll keep spitting out more HTML as strings. These are just carriage returns. If we keep coming down here, you'll see this is where our table begins being constructed. We create our header row of our table with the name, gender, and age headers at the top of the columns. And then we do a Java loop where it loops through this name array and spits out these lines, spits out a table row for each item that it finds in the array. And then it shuts things down. So basically this Java class is created automatically for us by the Tomcat server. And so JSPs are actually servlets under the hood, but you don't have to worry about compiling them yourself. So now you've seen how JSPs work. There's a lot more you can do with them. Typically, JSPs are great for user interfaces, but you still want to limit the amount of Java code that you push into them. We will create more JSPs in the future, and we'll show you how you combine them with servlets to simplify most of your programming tasks.